Dan Bongino is with us. He's a candidate for Congress, a Republican candidate for the 6th District in Maryland. Bongino, BONGINO.com. His website, a regular guest over on our TV show. Dan, welcome. And you've been here on our radio program before as well. Dan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
And I should say, a former member of the Secret Service, and you were a police officer, as I recall?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you have a distinguished career of public service.
Thank you.
And are now trying to extend that into the realm of elected public service. You tweeted out, 5.2 million can't buy you the hearts and minds of Americans unwilling to forfeit their children's tomorrows, referencing the fact that while Eric Cantor spent $150,000 on dinners at steakhouses with lobbyists during this campaign, and he spent $5.2 million on advertising, trashing Dave Brat, among others, and elevating himself, Dave Brat only spent, what, 200 grand?
Yeah, he spent, from what I'm hearing, 100 grand. He raised 200 for the campaign, but I think he only spent 100 grand on actual advertising. I don't know if the other 100 were salaries or whatever, but yeah. He was dramatically outspent.
Right. On the other hand, he had Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin. I mean, they're openly taking credit for his win. That for weeks they've been pounding away on the radio on Eric Cantor and promoting Dave Brat. And they are among a small handful of right-wing talk show hosts who've received over $22 million from the Koch brothers via things like the Americans for Prosperity. How come that never gets considered in the equation?
Well, what are you alleging?
I'm not alleging. I'm reporting. You could read it in Politico.
Well, clearly you're saying because there's an underlying allegation, correct? You're not just saying that as a fact and letting it stand alone. I mean, well,
I watched Fox News last night, and I saw Laura Ingraham take credit for his victory. And I have the Politico article in front of me from April 17, 2014, this year, titled The Tea Party Radio Network, that says, and I will quote to you, a political review of filings in the Internal Revenue Service and Federal Election Commission, as well as interviews and reviews of radio shows, found that conservative groups spent nearly $22 million to broker and pay for involved advertising relationships known as sponsorships with a handful of influential talkers, including Beck, Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, and Rush Limbaugh. And then and that was up until 2012. And then they add, since then, the sponsorship deals have grown more lucrative. So
I'm glad someone broke that. Conservative groups advertise on conservative radio. Man, someone better tweet that out as breaking.
I'm looking at this going, I wish liberal groups would advertise on liberal talk radio.
Well, listen, you and you are a very intelligent guy. I've been on your show quite a bit, and although we have substantial disagreements, I know you always come in prepared. I would never allege that your sponsors are in any way skewing your opinion on the show. Your editorial content's controlled by you. I know Mark Levin. I don't know Laura Ingraham, but I do know Mark personally. Mark is a principled guy who his company takes advertising dollars from conservative groups looking to reach a conservative audience. I don't really know what the story is. And ironically, you mentioned, the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers didn't support Dave Brat. So I don't know. I don't understand what the connection is at all. They're almost unrelated facts. There's no nexus between the two. They didn't support Dave at all. Dave Brat got $4,000 from PACs.
Right.
Cantor got $300,000.
Right.
And the PAC he got support from was a relatively new one that's against an amnesty program. So,
well, you make two good arguments. One which way does the relationship work? When rich right-wingers give money to right-wing talk show hosts, is it because they like what the talk show hosts are saying, or is it because they're trying to influence it? And I think you're probably right. I've been in this business. I think most of the people who are in this business, it's pretty hard in radio to do 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and lie. You can't be pretty much anybody other than yourself. That said, if somebody's getting a lot of money from a group and that group says, hey, this guy, Dave Brat got $500,000 from the guy who's the chairman now of the Charles Koch Foundation, the Cato Institute. So you don't think that there's any relationship there? It's like, hey, Mark, hey, Laura, you love these, here's 150 Republicans that you love, but here's one in particular who needs your help.
There are two separate questions, Tom. Is there a relationship? Yeah. Of course. You and I have a relationship. I'm on your show. But that's not what you're saying. The answer is yes. It's obvious there's a relationship. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm getting here and what other people have alleged, if not you, is that it is some kind of corrupting relationship which I can tell you from personal experience with one of those names. It is absolutely not true. The guy
I'm not saying it's corrupting. I'm saying it's collaborative. If I'm accusing anybody of anything here, Dan Bongino, it's the media of not reporting the fact that the conservative radio hosts who have been so aggressively supportive of Dave Bratt have been receiving money from the people who put Dave Bratt into his position at the university.
But that's not true. They didn't do that.
The guy who's the CEO of the Cato Institute gave a $500,000 grant to the university to hire Dave Bratt to explicitly to teach Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged.
Tom, I'm having a hard time believing that a guy with your level of intelligence is alleging somehow that Bratt was funded by moneyed interests when he won the race, out-fundraised 26-1, and ran against the insider cronyism was what he ran against. I don't get it. I mean,
here it is. From the American Banker magazine, John Allison, retired chairman and chief executive of BB&T, will be the new CEO of the Cato Institute. This is from 2012 when he changed. The changes resolve a long-standing legal dispute between Crane and Charles Koch. Allison, who will join the board, also has the option to nominate 2 additional directors. And then he is described as an Ayn Rand enthusiast. And then over in The New Yorker, Bratt teaches econ at Randolph-Macon University. He won a $500,000 fellowship by libertarian banking millionaire John Allison. That's the guy I just described, who's now the head of the Cato Institute, to spread the word of Ayn Rand to impressionable college students. So here's a guy who gets $500,000 from the CEO of this bank, just right after the bank gets a $3.1 billion bailout from George Bush. The guy then leaves the bank, and Bratt goes on to be, he's got $500,000 to fund his chair at the university. He's now teaching Ayn Rand. The guy leaves the bank and goes to work for the Koch Institute. But what suggests that I'm wrong is the point that you made, which is that Bratt only got $4,000 from PACs. If the Kochs were so enthusiastic about him, why didn't they throw more money his way? And I'm just saying,
exactly.
Maybe they did indirectly via Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin.
Nah, Tom, that's outrageous. And, this is a pot kettle situation, too. Yeah. I mean, anybody on the left, including yourself, talking about big money and the Kochs, conveniently leave out, teachers' unions and the fact that the Koch brothers are the 13th leading donors, private donors in the country, Tom Steyer. So I refuse to have the conversation anymore about money and politics until people say, yeah, liberals are the bigger problem. Conservatives may be a problem too, but we got to address our own house.
If you take the top 15 political donors in the country, if you take out the 3 unions that are in that top 15, every single one is a conservative group.
Okay. Only take out the big ones. That makes sense. Good point, Tom.
Well, that's what people like Scott Walker are trying to do.
Okay, let me turn the argument on you. Let's just take out the Koch brothers. Can we have the argument too? We're just not going to talk about them.
Well, I don't know how many of the top 15 they are funding. Frankly, I'd have to look at that.
Like, we're going to take out the big donors to the left, and then we can have it. Oh, okay.
So, Dan, we're almost out of time. Why do you, in a sentence, why do you think this guy won?
Because people are really upset at insiderism in D.C.
Republicans are really upset about it.
Oh, fired up! I knock on doors every day. Yeah. Really upset.
I think that you are right. I think that you are right, or at least mostly right. Dan Bongino, his website, bongino.com, running for Congress in the 6th District of Maryland. Thank you, Dan.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
This is